why is heaven about being with God? What does that actually mean? And when will that take place? If we go to heaven, when will we be with God? We can get hung up with thinking about heaven, about what we will, be like. Will we have bodies? Like, will we eat? What will we feel and sense and experience? All of these different questions about heaven. But the main point of heaven is about being with God. And we're going to talk about today, what does that actually mean? I accidentally stumbled on something that is profound as I was doing some study for these videos about heaven. The Bible, in the last 2 chapters in the book of Revelation, the last book of the Bible, talks about and describes heaven in quite vivid details. It talks about a new heaven and a new earth. And in Revelation 21 verse 3 it says this, "And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, Behold, the dwelling place of God is with man. And he will dwell with them, and they will be his people, and God himself will be with them as their God." So this idea that God is with us is obviously a very significant thought when it comes to heaven and the new heavens and the new earth. Now, what's interesting is that the New Testament was originally written in Greek. And so I was looking up this passage in some of that original language, and I'm no Greek scholar. But what I found interesting is that there's this word used in the middle of this verse where it says, he will dwell with them, that is said skeneo. I probably just butchered that because, like I said, I'm not a Greek scholar. But this word skeneo, it means to occupy, to reside, to fix one's tent or one's tabernacle. A tabernacle in the Old Testament was where God would come and dwell among his people. And this word skeneo only appears 5 times in the New Testament, and 4 of those times are in the book of Revelation. But there is one other reference to it that's actually found in a book that talks about the life and work of Jesus, a book called John. And in John 1 verse 14, which is a famous part of the book of John called the prologue, it says this, "And the Word became flesh." It's talking about Jesus. He came and took on flesh, and skeneo, dwelt among us. And we have seen his glory, the glory of the Son from the Father, full of grace and truth. What this verse is talking about is that God came and dwelt among us in Jesus. I love how the Message paraphrase actually puts this particular verse. It says, "The Word became flesh," again, talking about Jesus, "the Word became flesh and blood and moved into the neighborhood." You see, what's significant about and profound about this is that what we believe as Christians is in the future we will be with God. But what this verse is telling us and what this word is saying to us is that that actually has already happened. When Jesus came here on the earth, he was with us. And it was a taste for us, hear this, of what was and a foretaste of what will be. What I mean by that is that there's 3 periods of time that we should consider when we consider this idea of being God and mankind being together. When God made humans, before sin entered the world, we were with God. Adam and Eve walked with God in the garden. There was this perfect bond and relationship between mankind and God. And that's how things are designed to be. That's how things are meant to be. Just like I personally have twin girls. They're identical twin girls. Now imagine with me, somewhat like The Parent Trap, the movie, if my wife and I had pulled them apart from birth and if they'd never been together. I believe that there'd be something in them that would just kind of know that there was something missing, that there was something not quite right. And I believe that kind of pictures a little bit for us what we feel and sense as humans. There's something just not right in the world. And what that is the fact that we are not with God. And as we were in the garden, there's been this tearing, there's been this separation that's happened. You see, when sin came into the world, it put this uncrossable chasm between God and mankind. And Jesus thankfully came, and when he came to be with us, he resolved this uncrossable chasm with the cross. He made a way for us to be right with God. That is the gospel. That is the good news of who Jesus is and what he has done. So if you believe in Jesus, you can experience a taste of what it means to be with God. But what we also need to understand is that it's just a taste, a foretaste. That this fleeting foretaste won't be fully realized until Jesus returns a second time, as he said he would, and we will be in a new reality where we will be with God again. We will experience again the satisfaction of being with God. The beauty of heaven is that mankind will be with God again, like we were in the garden, and like we had a short window of when Jesus was here tabernacling amongst us. There will be no separation between heaven and earth. In fact, this verse is telling us, Revelation 21:3, that heaven and earth are coming together, and that's what we get to look forward to as Christians. God will be with his people. And so I just want to encourage you that when you think about heaven, the most important thing to look forward to, more than having a new body or living in this perfect world, the most important thing to look forward to is that we will be with God. But what about right now? What if you are somebody who loves God and you were to die tonight? Would you go and be with God right now? Well, I've got another video that talks about that, but the short answer is yes, you would go and be with God. But the fullness of what it means for us as mankind to be with God and for heaven and earth to come together has not yet been realized. All of heaven and earth is longing for that day. And we as humans are longing for that day when the two will come together again. There's something in us that knows that is the way that it's meant to be. There's something in us that looks forward to that, where we will be with God, where God will come and will move into the neighborhood. Thanks for watching this video. If you have questions about heaven, please send us one of those questions in. You can find instructions in the description below on how to do that. Of course, we'd love for you to subscribe so you can see other videos as they pop up. And thanks again for joining us.